family, and about a half-hour silence anyway, emergency C-section. But the Lord was very gracious, healthy mom, healthy grandson.
All right.
And so I am just praising the Lord.
Yeah, that's all right.
This is like bad news and good news. Bad news is I haven't had power since Friday. The good news is neither has John Kelly.
What in the world?
Barbecue. I've emailed a lot of you separately about it, but it's almost sold out, so I'm super excited about that. Even cooler is that we also have David Paget, the former U of L head basketball coach, is our bracketologist, who switched it up a little bit this year. So if you can come, Rotary has paid for your ticket and the bracket and to come. If you have any bets, essentially for that. But also see if you might have $25 in your pocket, because we have a cool thing going on that we have a big bucket $25 gift card. Everything from hometown pizza to Q&A.
That's cool. Thank you, Devin.
I had an interesting one this last week. I pulled a pack of bags and headed to the airport, and had no idea where I was going. Ended up at my wife surprised me. It was my birthday last Sunday, and so when I got to the airport, I found out that I was going to see it. We caught some spring training games with a dear friend that I had seen in 10 years. She's a ticket holder at the Oakland A's. While we're there, she just says, "Just a second, hey, Coach Mike, throw this guy a ball. Hey, get some players to sign." So all of a sudden, I got a signed ball, and we just had a wonderful time. Sorry, I missed driving the bus.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Jane Ashley. Speaking of birthdays, stand up. That was Sunday for our good man, Blaine A. And we have a couple other birthdays. Jason Morgan. I'm excited about Jason. When I was just planning through the next meetings, and May the 2nd is when he would normally do his derby thing. Pretty excited about that. And Brother Al. Is that right?
At the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm holding out.
You're going to hold out. All right. So we're going to charge Blaine for $1, I guess. And we'll sing happy birthday to Blaine.
All right.
All right. Sing with me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Blaine. Happy birthday to you. Yay. Nice job. All right. Don't let me forget that we're singing real, with gusto for Al and around the 28th. So, all right. A couple of announcements. I'm going to start with something not on the list, and that is, Robin, are you ready? All right.
It is a great time to be in this Rotary Club. We have been knocking it out of the park. We've given Rotary Foundation and recognizing an additional Paul Harris Fellows as we go along. So it's just been a sweet thing. So after you've given $1,000 from the International Foundation, you'll recognize the Paul Harris Fellow. And the foundation really does do a great work around the world. Water projects, micro businesses, Turkey, Syria that we have going on right now. Rotary is involved in that. So these gentlemen and each of you that have done that in the past, know that your dollars are both well spent and also very, very much appreciated. The two individuals, I got two who get to recognize today, have been great servants of this club. And so on behalf of the Rotary International Foundation, it is my pleasure to present these two newest Paul Harris Fellows. They are Matt Williams, your president, and
We caught you. Yeah. I didn't think he was going to do
And
me.
number one, Matt, thank you for
Oh, yeah.
being a great leader
Yeah,
and
thank you.
president of the club.
Yeah.
And Josh, you're how many years of treasurer?
3, 4,
All
I
right.
lost track.
We appreciate that. So on behalf of the International Foundation, I give you that right one. So Matt, there's yours.
Oh, cool. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
And Josh, yours. And then the pin you can now start wearing every
Mhm.
time with Paul Harris's face on it. Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you, man.
so much.
You surprised me on that.
Yeah, I knew it would.
Yeah. All right, Bob. Nice job. Thank you for all you do.
Congratulations. Yeah. And by the way, I've got about 4 more that I still have to give out. If they'll show up at different times.
Mhm.
And lastly, the district matching program goes through the next week.
I think it is, yeah, next week.
Yeah. So you're kind of at the last thing, you get your points doubled to match for Paul Harris Fellow recognition. You can do that, get that check to me.
Sometime in March. I'll get the date up.
International
I don't remember.
I gotta get the right person, get your match. But anyway, I appreciate your work. We hit our goal for the year, so we're in great shape, and I thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. So next week, Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong. Next week is the Monday for the Interact. So it's the 20th. The 20th. Okay, March the 20th, Interact. We're going to mention it again next week, but we definitely want to have other Rotarians to attend that. I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Having a good rotation of Rotarians has been really valuable. So thank you for all that. We do have the Oxford trip coming up in April. I do want to throw out something. Your incoming president, July 1st, Steve Sparrow, and I are going to Chattanooga next week for Thursday, Friday, Saturday for some Rotary president training. Really excited about Steve getting the training and stepping up. So thank you very much for being willing to do that. And by golly, his wife is going with him. So we might end up with Dottie being a part of our club at some point. That's all right. I got to think about the family discount too. I appreciate you said that. A couple other things that are happening. Ryla still looking for support in not just persons to chaperone and to lead, but also students. So if you know somebody that would fit into that Ryla space, I'm going to mention my own daughter who's going to be a sophomore at Oldham County next year. I think that's the right age. Yeah. So Ryla, we definitely want to keep leaning into that. And then a couple other things happening with the district I'm going to keep mentioning over time. Thank you all very much for hearing that well and serving well. Next week, as Devin said, we got the bracket barbecue. Really excited about this room being full and doing something for OSEF is really exciting there. A couple other things that are happening. We are going to have to make up the speech contest sometime before the 21st this month. So there might just be a kind of weird request that I make of you sometime this month where we come together, maybe even a weird spot, and we do the event. This is a priority for us, but the schedule with the school just got us this year. So thank you, Stan, for leading us on that. Sorry we couldn't get it in today, but we're going to get it in because this is a priority. So watch for news on this contest. We're working on Jim Urban for the 21st, and then you can see everything else happening. The one thing I do want to make sure, actually, I'm just going to read the whole thing. Holy Week on that first week of April, Al is speaking that day at Grange Christian. All right, that's right. So the meeting will not be here that Tuesday. It will be at LaGrange Christian. If you want more information, just let me know. Did I say? Okay. I did say Crestwood. My bad. That was my mistake. It's LaGrange Christian. It will be right next week. And then we do have a really exciting thing that has been kind of brewing for a while. Bill Landis is helping us organize a Past Presidents Day. So we've got 38 or so, is what you mentioned, 38 past presidents that are still alive, and we want to celebrate our leaders. And so I'm really excited about that. Bill, anything you wanted to add?
No, we'll get a date.
Okay. We're looking at 2 different dates in April, but I'm really excited about that. I think this club's priority has been students for a long time, but also history. And people like Bill and Mark Hartson have done a really great job of documenting and celebrating that history. And I think this is a good chance for us to really put our leaders up front. So thank you very much for that, championing that, Bill. So Stan, would you like to introduce our speaker today? Sir. Gotcha. Yep, I got you.
This is what you got there. It's the mic that listen in on Zoom, and we also.
So I can talk anywhere and wherever.
Well, yeah. Like I said, we have it recorded to Zoom. So.
Thank you.
Recently serving as a technical advisor on hydropower development. 15 years of the use of water. As a result of our numerous water environmental studies. Israel, Japan, China, South Africa, Michigan, Colorado, Mali, California, Washington. With that, I see that.
Thank you, Stan. Are we hooked up?
Let's give it a try.
Give it a try.
Did you turn it on? Okay, should be connected. Let me see.
Oh.
You can go ahead and start talking if you want, and I'll get you working. Go ahead. And I'll get you
Okay,
working.
thank you, Stan. It's delightful to be here. And I am a retired scientist. Spent all my life working on aquatics and retired in 2004 and became very interested in Rotary, of course, and was your assistant governor for a while. But basically, as we all know, we gonna work now?
Yep, sure do.
Aha. Okay. Today I started a series of lectures on the environmental sustainability aspect of our mission. As we know, back a couple years ago, Rotary International decided to take environmental sustainability on as a 7th focus. What do we mean by that? Well, I started working on some talks on energy storage and population problems and communication. I said, well, let's go back a little bit. What are we really talking about? What are we trying to sustain? So I thought if we go back to the basics of what we are, how lucky we are to have something like this. Yeah, we'll get something like that. That's a picture from the Apollo program on the moon, looking back on the Earth. That really kicked off in 1970, the environmental movement big time. So if you just look at that, there we are hanging out there in the dark midst of the cosmos. Pretty darn valuable. That's what we're trying to sustain. Okay, there's a better picture of us. Let's go on. Now, where are we? You all have known this before, but I learn something every time I think about this. There's our sun. It's about 4.6 billion years old. Here's our planets. Can everybody hear me? Good. Mercury, Venus, there's Earth, Mars. This green area happens to be the habitable zone. What do we mean by that? Well, we can get liquid water to remain. Without liquid water, there'll be no life. Some of the other larger planets are shown here. We'll talk about those a little bit later, but we're sitting there in the Goldilocks zone. Mars is close, but we're very, very lucky to end up there. That sustains our life. Now, where are we in the Milky Way? Let's go out a little bit bigger. In the last 50 or 60 years, scientists have been able to paint out a picture of the Milky Way. Huge. This thing is 100,000 light years across. Blows my mind. There's the center. Here's our little old planet sitting out here, about 25,000 light years from the center. There we are. There's probably 2 billion stars in our Milky Way alone. Going a bit further, there are billions of these galaxies in the universe. I don't know how to wrap my mind about that, but the point is, we got something to sustain here that's very fragile, very unique, and we'll go on now about that. Back in 2000, that was our
I
galaxy
know in the galaxy, but it was at the sun
in the
in the
center.
middle of our galaxy.
Thank you. Yes, that was the sun.
All right.
Yeah. Now, in the year 2000, Peter Ward and Brownlee came out with this book, and I recommend it if you have time. It shows you how rare we are, how rare and lucky we are to have a planet like here. Now, lucky us, why are we lucky? I'm going to go through these. Bear with me kind of quickly. There are 13 main reasons why we have life on Earth. Our planet recycles carbon. That's important. We can talk about that a little bit later. That's very important. It cycles over time. We have an ozone layer, thanks to oxygen in our atmosphere. Without it, DNA would not exist. Ultraviolet light would break it up a long time ago. That's important. We have a big moon. You know, our planet is sitting there 23.5 degrees, wobbling around as it circles. It wobbles a little bit, several degrees every 40,000 years. Without that moon to stabilize it, it would wobble a lot more. Life just could not take it. So we're very lucky there. We have a lot of different life forms here because of plate tectonics. We have mountains, we have oceans, rivers, valleys, and a lot of things that Earth and our organisms can adapt to. We have a very diverse group of organisms. We have a magnetic field. Without our magnetic field, we would not be able to deflect the solar particles. Now, you all seen Aurora Borealis? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Well, that's because we have a magnetic field deflecting those particles coming in. Otherwise, life couldn't take it. We're just the right distance from the sun. We've talked about that. The Goldilocks zone. Without liquid water, life does not exist. We're safely from the big planets, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune. If we were closer, the gravity field of those planets would take our planet, move it around its orbits, and it would be an unsafe environment. We're very lucky there. We're far enough away from them. The sun is a stable, medium-sized star. It's going to last about 10 billion years, according to astronomers. Many of the suns in the Milky Way are smaller. They burn out quicker, or if they're big, they burn out even quicker, blow up. Our sun is stable enough to allow life to evolve and to merge and to evolve in many different ways for thousands and millions of years. We're lucky there. Okay, I'm not going to do too much, but anyway, we've got a lot of things to be thankful for, folks, and we got a lot of things that we got to think about sustaining, obviously. I'm going to say one thing about carbon and then go on. It's one of the, as you've heard, we've heard too much about it lately. Greenhouse gases, we're full of it, but it's true. It's one of the greenhouse gases that traps the heat, keeps the surface warm enough. without some carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we would be a chunk of ice. We wouldn't have enough, it would not be warm enough, so you got to have some. But too much may be too much. Carbon is deposited, it sinks, it's ejected finally by volcanoes. The big cycle goes around and around, and over many, many thousands of years maintains a pretty good balance of what we need. Now, unfortunately, right here, this is where we're all about. We're affecting that. After about 12,000 years or so of relative stability, people are loading it up, rapidly tipping the Earth into a new climate age. We could talk forever about that, but let's go on. A little picture kind of shows you what we mean. The sun comes in, the sun rays from the sun are short enough that they go right through our atmosphere, come in, and then to radiate out that heat, we have the long wave radiation that gets trapped. It gets trapped by our greenhouse gases. Thank goodness it does get trapped if you have the right amount, but if we've got too much in there, we see what's happening today. There's no doubt about it. Our planet is warming up. I put that in. You guys know about the seasons like everybody. If you take a look at June here, we're coming up on the summer solstice. We see an equinox, the rays coming in here. Here's our axis wobbling up at 23.5 degrees. It slopes usually, and that's what actually turns around a little bit. And over time, thousands of years, because it changed a little bit, it does revert from cold to hot, and that's why we had our ice ages related to that in the last Pleistocene period. All right, what do we mean we're distant from the sun? We're in the Goldilocks zone. It's not too hot, not too far away, not too cold. We're safely away from the gas giants. I talked about that. The sun is stable, and we have the right stuff to produce the dynamic core, which gives us our magnetic field. Okay, now, good. We've got a planet that's very, very stable, right? Well, if you look back in time, you go back 500 million years, that's when probably the big expansion of multicellular life took place, way back in the Paleozoic. Well, paleontologists have tracked this the last 500 million years. They show you when the Earth wasn't so stable. We lost a lot of species. 450 million years ago, there was a massive die-off, 86% of all dead. 70 million later after that, 75% died. 125 million later, 90%. That was the biggie at the end of the Permian. And then so forth. The last one, of course, was when the dinosaurs left. It was about 66 million years ago. All of these extinctions have been tied back to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, except one. And that was the asteroid that took out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. But you look back, there were times when the planet was suffering from too much carbon dioxide. It was heating up. This was causing a lot of problems. Now, if you look at the bottom here, we're adding CO2 to air faster, at least 5 times faster today. The rate is 100 times faster than before the Industrial Revolution. Ain't no doubt about it. 98% of the scientists that are studying this, look at this. Yeah, we're the problem. There's more carbon in the air today than in the past 800,000 years, perhaps as long as 15 million years ago. So we've got a problem. Now, Rotary has a big mission here. We'll get into that. Today, because of this, we have many species that we're losing. We can't even count them right now. There's probably 1 million in danger because the climate is changing through sea level rise, invasive species. We're losing their habitat. So we haven't been treating the Earth very well. Here's an example of the American dream. Well, that kind of looks like an overuse of the habitat to me. Here's a little slide that shows as we continue to change the planet, there's what we got coming. That's a little radical, but you can see where we really have focused on people so long. We've changed the habitat. We have gone under the impression that we control it. It's all there for us, and it ain't working that way anymore. Now, if you add numbers of people, this is the scary part. I have a talk on this too, but it shows that the numbers of people are dwindling now after year 2050. But if you look at this huge change, 1974, there were 4 billion of us. There are 9 billion by 2000. There will be 9 billion. There will be 10 billion by 2050 projected. That's when it's supposed to start declining, by the way. And I can talk more later. But we are overcrowded. We're taking more of the sun's energy for one species, robbing many of the other inhabitants of the planet. So we've got a serious problem there to deal with. Okay, where are we heading? Why are we worried? We're older. I'm older. I'll probably be under the grass before it hits bad. But look here, all these kids, they're asking us to do a better job and save the planet for them. That's what it's all about. Now, if you look at Rotary's focus, look at these areas of focus. We've got peace building, disease prevention, water sanitation, maternal and child health care, education, and here we go. Now we're going to add the environment. Fine. Well, excuse me. Here, are we Johnny-come-latelys? I went to a Sierra Club conference a couple months ago. Just took my Rotary because I talked about how we're doing now. I think a lot of them felt we were Johnny-come-latelys. After all, some of these organizations have been working for 100 years talking about this. Now here comes Rotary. Well, turns out, if you look back through the Rotarian magazine, just a few years, Rotary has been involved with environmental programs all around the world for quite a while. We've never advertised. And so I've got a list of those if anybody wants to see it. But we now have a very important function here. But you know what, guys and gals? Look at all this, what it relates to. It relates to all of these. How can we do a good job with these if this falls apart? We can't. One of the things that we're looking at now about population control, well, you know, educating a lot of young women and what literacy is one of the best ways to do that. So we're involved in that. But we have a challenge. And I would say Rotary as a whole has to get together and look at these focused areas. Are we in step with just super consuming again the world's resources? What about when we're going to go to pets? And I like going, but we're flying out and all over the place. We're not really changing enough our look at the world either. We're going to have to some way get in step. It's going to be kind of painful. All right, we've seen that picture. It's the truism. There is no planet out there right now except ours. What future are we investing in? Well, here we go. Our consumptive society is guys coming over here where we got renewable energy, it's peaceful. I hope we're heading in that way. I'm not sure it's fast enough, but we need to be. Now here, we're doing it for these kids. By the way, we give out dictionaries. Y'all give out dictionaries to third graders? It's a tremendous project. You should see the smile on these kids. Every third grader gets a book. We just give one last Thursday. We'll be giving more to Milton next Thursday. And they love it. So there's kids, that's their future. Are we going to hand them a basket case of an environment? What are we thinking here? Okay. Now, another thing that we are looking at is the high school kids. This is our pollinator club. It kind of shrank a little bit after COVID, but we've gone out and we work with the kids to change their habitats and put in pollinator like this. Here's this little guy. And I have a talk on lawns. So how many lawns that we work with here? Hours, right? Mowing the lawns. What are they? What do they support? Mice? They support I don't know what else they support. Very little. Well, here we go. This little guy says, why not more of this? Oh, this happened. We do some of this at our farm, not enough. But most of around town, Bedford and everywhere you see in there, we just mow this stuff. We diversify the landscape. We put more CO2 in the air. We spend hours when really the animals and plants and insects need a lot more of this. We got to do a better job of that, Rotary. Or we might find something like this happening in our pollinator bed. Yes, sir.
You want questions or comments now? Or you
As soon as I'm done, I'd love to have them. Thank you. Hold on. Yeah, as long as we got. You might have something like this old a caterpillar from a monarch. Here's one of the magic things about our planet right there. Here's a chrysalis. Look at that. I've had a few on my house happen this year. I'm very proud of that, but we can do more of these things. And as a organization, we need to branch out into our community. We need to communicate more. I have a talk coming up on that pretty soon. Here's the guy that says scientists have now determined or concluded that despite Woody Guthrie's best efforts, this land was not made for you and me. Okay, now let's go back to our photos real quick. This energized the environmental movement back in 1970. What a picture, sitting out there alone. But you know, better than that, around 1972 or 3, NASA launched the Voyager aircraft, 2 of them, to go out into space to look at the planets and tell us what's out there. They did this, and this is a bad slide, I'm sorry, forgive me, but here they launched it, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and went way out, and by golly, way out here, they got beyond Neptune, and now they're out here in the intersolar system of the galaxy. What an effort. You know what they did here? Carl Sagan said, wait a minute, before you go out here, I want to turn this around. I want to look back at our planet from 400 and some billion miles away. And here's what he found. There it is, a pale blue dot. That's us. And you know what else he said? That's here, that's home, that's us, not everywhere. Everyone you know, everyone you love, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there's no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. Finally, this is the ultimate Hail Mary. They put 2 records on Voyager, golden records, and they put those records out there, and it has the sights and sounds of our country, music, quotations from President Carter, and they send it out, and hopefully that it'll eventually be found by somebody out there, some civilization. This is who we were. Hail Mary, if you've ever seen it, because guess what? It'll be 30,000 years before that'll even hit the nearest star, Alpha Centauri. Think about that. So it was a Hail Mary, but it was an attempt by us to reach out and let people know who we are, because we know the habitat come, habitat go. The Earth may not be here that long from now. Anyway, there's our 7 areas of focus. Think about that. How can Rotary change its work? In what way that we can now provide a more sustainable environment for us and for our children? I can slip into gloom pretty quick. I don't like to do that. Doom and gloom. Nobody gets motivated by that. But you can't help but think the emissions keep going up. There was a high record last year of the amount of emissions worldwide. Yes, there's a lot of good work being done, trying to capture carbon out of the air, more electrical vehicles or whatever, but it's not fast enough. So anyway, folks, I don't want to leave on a gloom and doom, but I'm saying Rotary needs to be challenged. We have a better opportunity than many of these environmental groups because we're people oriented. Yeah, we raise people up, make them thrive. So we integrate that with a better environment. We're not just worried about the polar bears, or, we are, but anyway, I'm going to stop there and thank you for listening very much. It's been a real honor to come and share this. And if I can give a few more later, Stan, I'd be happy to on some of the other aspects of this whole program. Thank you very much. Question. Yes, sir.
Okay, Rotary is an international organization,
Amen.
right? So I don't want to hear us talking about patty caking around with little things like what you were showing the kids and everything. I want Rotary to be out there dealing with the tough things that we need to deal with. I want to see Rotary deal with the environmentalists who are using environment for their own political agendas. Now, you are smart enough to know that there's plenty of political agendas going on. Now, damn it, let's get on to dealing with knocking down these political people using this stuff, this environmental,
Right. Good, very good point.
let's get these damn guys that are using the heat thing for political purposes.
Mhm.
And we know that they're doing it. So let's quit doing that. And let's get after these damn Chinese people who are creating. Cool it down.
You've done it.
All right, I want them.
Dad.
All right, that's a good point. Let me summarize. Politics are using the environmental issues to their benefit. Good example, Exxon, I don't single out any corporations, ExxonMobil back in 1970, 1980, their scientists told them that this is going to happen. They got put back in a corner. No, we're not going to talk about that. It's just like the minute, you remember tobacco, the big wars, when you had your some of the side, oh no, it doesn't cause cancer, on and on and on. So anyway, the point is, it's a very difficult one, but I get your point. Now on China,
It's not, but Rotary is not Republican or Democrat.
right?
You can stand in the middle and get the job done
Ah.
a whole lot better than most organizations. So let's see Rotary doing something serious.
Let's clap on that.
But damn it.
The thing is that, in my humble opinion, we're going to be forced to come together. We're like driving through a dense fog. There's a huge cliff out there. We don't know where it is, but we're getting there. We're blind, but it's going to force people to come together. And actually, it's an existential threat that it is probably the greatest challenge in human history.
Yeah, what other questions do we have?
Other than a real question on the water on Mars, here's another question. There are two things that we could individually do to make a difference.
Excellent. What can we do? I have another talk that would, if you want sometime. I have ideas. We've gone through that with our club. What can we do locally? What can we do globally? What can we do in our little part? Everybody has a part here. And how can we do it as Rotary? So Rotary needs to, the awareness come up, and we need to start talking about this a lot more. Are we doing our work? What if we all fly to meetings for Rotary? Is that right? That's the worst part of putting carbon dioxide in the air there is. On and on. So we got to change as an organization, but little things we can do locally. And one of the things is we got to reach out and start communicating to the leaders, to the public, and that's not easy. I have a talk on that, is that how we can communicate without coming off sounding like arrogant, people. So I'd be glad to share more of that with you sometime if you want it. What can clubs do personally? Because there is quite a list.
Okay. Any other questions before I read the number of that?
I don't have a question, but I have an ask that I
Sure,
forgot
sure.
to say. Speaking of doing good in the community, tomorrow we're doing a grand reopening for all people. So, yeah, so if you all have nothing to do.
That's great. We need to support him. Lenny's mentioned that before.
I just want to say that I don't have to run home. If anybody wants to informally talk, be happy to talk.
Feel free to hang.
Yeah.
All right, last three of the tickets. Today is the, 133. Okay. That's a good number. Right. 643. Oh.